Stephen Conroy, why do you think it got this bad?
Well, I think the view towards Morrison has hardened over the last 3 months. I mean, he did, as you say, he hoped, he promised that we'd all have a great Christmas. And I was just talking with our colleagues earlier, and, you know, I ducked our Christmas party this year because I didn't want to catch COVID. I wanted to catch up with my family. I pulled out of 3 Christmas parties over Christmas. If you go into shops and restaurants in the CBD right now, they are struggling to get people to come back into Melbourne and to go to events. So many Australians suddenly knew people who had it, knew people that were in isolation. So that hope, it just dissipated and it made people bitter. And then you had the queues, which were on TV every single night. And I'm a bit of a cynic. Morrison and the team are looking at all these queues, 6-hour queues, people queuing up at 4 o'clock in the morning or leaving their car in place so they could come back early and still be up front of the queue. Then they go, we don't want the queues on TV. We've got it. We're dumping PCR, the gold standard, which we talked about for months and years. Now we want rats. And they didn't do the basic preparation of making sure that they'd stockpiled rats. So they've created a lot of these problems by lack of preparation themselves. But the fundamental problem for Morrison is people have come to the conclusion he's not a leader. I mean, can you imagine John Howard stuffing up the Novak Djokovic situation in the way that Scott Morrison did? You know, lost the first court case, had to do the second one, had the second court case. John Howard would never have made those mistakes.
Hardly Scott Morrison's fault. Goodness sake.
Yeah, well, I also think that some of the state premiers have played extremely hard ball and been better at the PR. I mean, Michael Kroger, you said the states have been getting all the credit. I also think the other half of that is the federal government's been getting all the blame, including for state stuff-ups. But is there one problem here, which you might even detect from my tone about Scott Morrison, is that he has, over the course, also tried too hard to please the left. But the left don't trust him, and Conservatives now don't trust him either. He doesn't seem to have a natural constituency that would cheer him on.
Look, it's an article of faith that if you try and win support from your opponent's, swimming pool of votes, it won't do any good because people will always vote for the real thing as opposed to the pretend real thing. So the government's got to get back to, core values, and that's economic leadership and economic responsibility, and point out that under the Keating government, interest rates got to, under Hawke, the home loan rates were 7.5%, 9.5% for borrowings, and, Australia can't afford that lack of economic management. That's the government's narrow path to victory on May 7, 14 or 21, whichever one of the dates it is, because this country has never been as sensitive to interest rate movements as it is today. Everyone has a loan or is affected by a loan, housing, business, personal credit card, whatever. Everyone is incredibly interest rate sensitive, and that's where the government can still win the election. It won't win it on global warming. It won't win it on koalas. It won't win it on any other issue but interest rates. And despite Josh Frydenberg's incredible largesse of $300 billion, which quite correctly saved, he was right, he saved 700,000 jobs, they're still 12% behind, Andrew. So you can see that if you play the cards you've played already, you're not going to win the election because the electorate have looked at that, they've judged you, and they're not giving you sufficient credit for it.